And here we are, because Charlie would want us to be here. He would be upset if we weren't here. And we, of course, have left his chair open and empty, because nobody will ever fill it.
今天，另一位常识派雄辩强将班舍皮罗宣布，他将接替 Charlie Kirk 进各大学校园，继续掷地有声的挑战，请证明我错 ，Prove me wrong。不缺勇敢者的地方，下映了一个苛刻刀下千万苛刻站起来。
我们正在吃着海底捞，突然看到窗外有一个游行的，看了一下他们的标语，是为了纪念那个叫 Charlie Kirk 的一个美国人，他在犹他州做演讲的时候被枪击了。然后看这个大马，这海底捞没白吃啊。好了，继续回来吃火锅。
This is such bullshit. I've never been so pissed in my whole life. I just murdered Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence? Gosh damn it. Use your freaking words. Use their tongue, you people. Who shot Charlie Kirk? I'm driving in a Provo right now. I'm so pissed. Damn it.
Can you please explain to everyone out here what Jesus stood for, and especially the qualities of love, how to love your neighbor even if they don't agree with you?
That's a beautiful question. So John 8, if I'm drawing from memory correctly, best embodies both Christ's mercy and love, but also his commitment to truth. And sometimes in the modern gospel, we overemphasize the grace and we underemphasize the truth.
Yeah.
And so we are far too willing to say, hey, Jesus loves everybody, but we don't get to the second part of the conversation that says Jesus doesn't want you to live in sin. So this is, in John 8, it's best embodied, right? Almost every Christian in this audience will be able to tell you the first part of this, which is a bunch of Sadducees and Pharisees are standing around with rocks, and they're about to stone the prostitute woman. And Jesus comes up and says, let the first among you without sin cast the first stone. And everyone starts dropping the rocks. But what comes next shows that Christ is not just grace-focused, he's simultaneously truth-focused. He goes up to the woman who had a career in selling herself for sex and said, sin no more. Now, imagine today how much trouble you would get in if you would go up to somebody and say, stop sinning. No, you're being too judgmental. No, you're actually being Christ-like. So Jesus stood. He was 100% grace and truth. And that tension is very hard in a modern world because we want to overemphasize grace when in reality Christ loves us too much to have us continue to live in sin. He wants us to try to elevate our actions to glorify God in all that we do.
My name is Chance, and I apologize if one of these has been covered before. It was a little hard to hear. Oh, thank you. So I wanted to know either your thoughts on masculinity and the definition of that, or religious, using religion as the objective morality.
Which one would you like me to
whatever
tackle?
hasn't been covered as much.
Yeah, what it means to be a man hasn't been covered.
Okay, yeah,
right?
let's talk about
to be a man is to have self-control over your fleshly desires and an attitude towards courage and defending those that can't defend themselves, fostering a family towards godly purposes, and picking the fights that the rest of society should not be involved in. That's what men should do.
Understood. So with the godly purposes, do you believe that if a person is not religious, that they are less of a man because of it?
No, I don't. But
Okay.
I do say, though, by what standard do we say them good or not so good? So if someone is not religious, that's going to be an eternal problem that they'll have to figure out.
Understood.
However, if someone is not religious, we have to look at how they act and how they raise their kids. By what standard? We view that through a Western Christian ethic.
Yep.
And so through the Western Christian ethic, we judge what is a good man and what is not a good man. And the Bible is full of great men and not so great men, right? And even the great men of the Bible made a lot of mistakes, right? The great man of Moses killed somebody. The great man of Abraham sold his wife basically into slavery in Egypt. But they also did a lot of good. The best story for young men right now is Genesis 12 of the Bible, which is basically like get off your tail, leave your father's home, and go on an adventure for God's purpose. And of course, all throughout the scriptures, men in particular are called at this time, and it's the Hebrew word hineni, which means here I am, which is God will call you to a place out of comfort and into duty. We see that with the calling of Isaiah, the calling of Samuel. We see that with Moses. We see that with the calling of Jacob. And so we as men need to be called sometimes to not what we want to do, but what we ought to do, which is that word that I love that is being lost in America so much as called duty.
Makes sense. So one more question to that is, do you believe that the modern movement to of feelings and men with feelings and stuff like that makes them any less of a man, or things like therapy or whatever?
I mean, of course, we as men must have feelings, but women are more emotional. That is how they are wired. However, here's the issue, is that we as men need to do a job as society, in our families, in our marriages, to always make sure our reason triumph over feelings. That is largely what the biblical role is, and how it made this country so great, is that we must have deep feeling and also deep thinking in our life, both of which. And if we're honest, we've had way too much feeling and way too much emotion-centric governing over the last couple of decades, especially the last 10 years, and not nearly enough reason, calculation. And so, look, a man who's in touch with his feelings, fine. However, if that verges on the line of self-indulgent narcissism, and towards what end? And by the way, the number one feeling you should have is adoration for a God that made you. The greatest feeling is you should always petition those things to the Almighty.
And I guess this might be a little off, but for people that have had multiple experiences trying to connect with God or some sort of higher power in some form, but have not been able to find that, what would that person do you believe?
Well, what you aim at is what you get. The first thing is you got to read the Bible every day. And then finally, if you want to get closer to God, stop doing sinful things. You know, I always laugh. People say, well, I'm not close to God. Yeah, I was up till 3 a.m. drinking, and, you know, I've been doing weed all day long and watching pornography and eating whatever I want to eat. The flesh dulls the spirit from getting closer to the Almighty. And by the way, this is just good life advice. Mm-hmm. If the flesh dulls your spirit, getting closer to the Almighty. So it's just good life advice. If it makes you feel good in an instant, it's probably bad for you. And a man versus a boy is someone who is able to say no for the things that feel good but aren't good for you over long periods of time. A man versus a boy is someone who's able to have delayed gratification, not go out drinking every night, treat women with honor and respect, stay up late and actually, studying. People were booing, saying not going up, drinking every night. That's fine. But it's like success comes at a certain cost. If you guys want to be average, then, you guys can go be the chief executive officer for, your local Bud Light Club or whatever, right? Instead, if you want to be excellent at something, it means saying no to the flesh, saying no to the things that make you feel good all the time. And our society is highly addicted to pornography, highly addicted to substances, and we wonder why we have the most depressed, anxious, alcohol-addicted generation in history. A lot of these reasons are because of that. So what it means to be a man are a lot of those things, and also standing up against injustice. The most masculine thing you can do is stand up against the injustice and the suffering of others. And this is what bothers me a lot, is that we are called to defend women. We are called to defend women that are being criticized, that are being criminalized, or whatever you say, especially in our marriage. And then finally, we as men are not called to go sleep with like 100 different women. That's BS. Find one woman for your life as a wife, take her as your wife, and have a family with that person. Monogamy takes effort. There is no skill in being, a polyamorous polygamist. In fact, you'll end up being a very miserable person if that's the case.
That makes sense. I understand your perspective.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Would it be okay if I shook your hand?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Thank you. Yep. You are a self-described feminist. What is a woman?
Why do you want to know?
I'm infinitely curious.
What's a man?
You're looking at one.
You're saying these things because you're trying to get a gotcha.
You're a feminist. Shouldn't you be able to tell me what a woman is?
I'm a feminist.
Isn't that probably important to feminism? What is the woman that you're trying to advance and protect? Isn't that integral to? Is that the whole feminist project? The war against
what a woman is the only way that you can get a gotcha over everybody else. Why is it so important to you to define things in certain categories? How does that help your day-to-day life? Like
what other categories in the human species are there besides male and female?
Well, I just think that categorization is usually unhelpful when we're trying to improve society, right?
I have XY chromosomes.
Okay.
Can I give birth?
No, you can't.
Bingo. That's why categorization matters. What is a woman?
That's a
What is a woman? It's not a trick question. What is a woman?
Who identifies as a woman?
You can't answer the question with the question. Yeah, define the woman without saying woman.
It's a social defined by people.
You're in college, paying for an education. What is a woman?
How about you talk to someone with media training? How about you talk to someone?
You don't need media training. It's not a trick. What is a woman?
Who identifies as a woman?
You can't answer the question with the...
What are you talking about?
It's the college kids of America going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt who think it's a trick question when you ask them what a woman is. Abortion is murder and should be illegal.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
It's no, but it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane. Who has to give birth to it? That's going to ruin her life.
Something evil happened and we do something good in the face of evil instead of saying we're going to do evil and then murder the being because we're going to pander to the evil. No, When does human life begin?
I would say when it's born.
Okay, so when it's born. So therefore, if a pregnant woman was walking here on campus and she was murdered, the person who murdered that pregnant woman, should they be guilty of a single homicide or a double homicide? Let her answer the question.
I do believe double if that woman wanted to keep that baby and have that baby.
But hold on, just help me understand this. How can life be so just loosely defined that it's all on the intent on the mom, whether or not that's a human? So your human distinction is wholly dependent on whether or not a mom wants to keep you?
It depends on how the mother feels about her baby, yes. If she doesn't want it, then she should have the right to have an abortion.
No, but we're talking about something different. Is it not objectively a human life if that pregnant mom is all of a sudden a victim of a homicide?
Yeah.
Okay, but then if it's objectively a human life when it's a homicide, how is it not objectively human life when that is in an abortion clinic?
Because it's not what the mother wanted. She doesn't want to have that kid.
Do you have a right to murder another human being?
No, but abortion isn't murder.
Okay, but then fine. Define murder.
It's taking another life, in the world. Once the baby's out, that's when it counts as murder. If you killed a baby, that's murder. But killing a fetus isn't murder.
What species is the fetus?
Human.
Then how is it not murder?
Because it hasn't been born yet.
Why does that make it human?
Because that's when, it's not dependent on the mom, and it can be, its own thing.
So that's exactly right. If you have a pacemaker, you're dependent. If you have a ventilator, you're dependent. Babies are in NICU units, neonatal intensive care units, they're dependent. Dependency does not equal its degree of moral worth.
Hello, Mandy. The killing of Charlie Kirk should have sparked reflection and mourning across the society. Yet some so-called radical leftists celebrating online, showing no basic respect for died. Instead, they made the very test of Hamas, treating murder as a festival. The kind of cold-blooded cruelty had completely abandoned the core spirit of Christian culture and is not the language of any civilized world at the root. They are no different from extremist militants using hatred and violence to poison society. If America still have a conscience, people must stand up and stop this voice of moral decay from spreading further, otherwise the very foundation of civilization will be slowly eroded.
Tyler Robinson 几天前在家里吃晚饭时，和他的家人提起了 Charlie Kirk 将要来本地，我们不喜欢他，他在散播仇恨。作为当地县警的爸爸，听是听了，当然不知道他的儿子会真的做什么。9月10日当天上午8点29分，Tyler Robinson 开车来到犹他古大学的活动现场。他并不是这个大学的学生，目前也没有在上学，换了件衣服，爬上200码外的屋顶。等到中午12点22分，开枪打中 Kirk， 换回来校园的另一衣服，跳下屋顶，驱车跑掉。 这一路上被民居的监视录像拍到，警方取得后公布，成为美国家喻户晓的视频。尽管 Tyler Robinson 戴着帽子和墨镜，在录像中也没法让人看到他的真面目，但是熟悉儿子的爸爸看到录像后，马上认出可能是他儿子，再联想到儿子几天前在餐桌上的言论，更加怀疑他爸爸请来他们的牧师和儿子谈话，最后从儿子口里问出是他干的。爸爸9月11晚上通知了县警局，就是他自己的单位，警方赶来查问 Tyler 的室友，招认了他们之间在 Discord 平台上的对话，涉及如何把丢在树林里的步枪取回，如何在弹壳上刻字等等等等，证据确凿，因此警方确认抓到真凶。这个案子告诉我们什么？美国教育的失败，爸爸没有把孩子教好，最后不得不大义灭亲，还是学校辜负了父母的期望，教出这样反对美国传统价值的孩子，还是兼而有之。我们现在还不知道 Tyler Robinson 背后有没有人，这个只能静待下一步的消息。但是这个事件已经是能让美国社会深刻思考的一个事件了。我们的孩子怎么了？
连续说了2天的查理·科克被枪杀的事件，因为我是觉得呢，这个社会上如果有一个人或者是一群人在别人的人生灰暗或者是不知道如何选择的时候，这个时候有一束光一样的来照亮别人，让他去做人生正确的选择，影响别人，我觉得这样的人在我的心里就是一个了不起和伟大的人。枪杀查理·科克的枪手被抓捕了，但是这个经过呢却出乎了所有人的意料。这个枪手呢是被他的父亲说服了以后去警察局自首的。这名枪手是犹他州的一名22岁的年轻人。
On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance.
这个年轻人呢，他的父亲呢，是一名警察，老警察，工作了27年。这个父亲在当局公布了他儿子就是枪杀查理·科克的这个枪手的照片的时候，虽然呢这个照片不清楚，刚开始只有一个黑点，后来呢从上面往下面拍的时候也看不清楚他的脸，但是他的父亲一眼就看出了他的儿子走路的姿势。他回家的时候呢，他的父亲就问他是不是做了这件事情呢？他也承认了。他的父亲当时让他去自首呢，他不愿意去，他说宁可自杀也不可能去投降。他的家住在离着枪击现场呢相差400公里大约，也就是说他驱车到校园里面枪杀了查理·科克以后呢，又开车返回了自己的家。他的母亲是做什么工作呢？就是帮助残疾人获得一些照顾啊、照看呐，做这样的一个工作。这个孩子呢也非常的优秀，他曾经是这个学校的一个获得$35,000的奖学金的一个人。在他的妈妈眼里呢，这个孩子就是一个天才。最早呢，他不愿意去自首，但是他的父亲就找了他的朋友，他的朋友呢是一名牧师。他当时枪杀完查理·科克以后，自己也后悔了。以后，他的父亲还是说服不了他，让他去投降，因为他说呢，宁愿自杀也不投降。于是他的父亲就找了一个牧师跟他谈话，这个牧师跟美国法警逃犯特遣队有合作关系，于是在这个牧师的帮助下呢，就联系了当局联邦调查局。昨天晚上呢，联邦调查局成功的将他逮捕。逮捕呢是他的父亲亲自驱车把他送到联邦调查局去自首的。根据这个联邦调查局采访呢，他的家人表示呢，这2年呢，就是这个孩子呢，枪手呢也是热衷于这个时政的话题。然后呢，最近查理·科克要去学校演讲，他就不喜欢查理·科克的观点，所以呢做了这样的事情。犹他州的州长感谢了这名父亲，感谢他的父亲呢做出了正确的选择。这是昨天晚上发生的事情。早前川普在接受福克斯采访的时候呢，也表示这个情况就是被抓了，但是川普呢是希望判处他有罪，判处他死刑。不仅是川普，而美国有很多的人呢也希望判处枪杀查理·科克的枪手判处他死刑。查理·科克也获得了一个普通的美国人无法获得的最高荣耀，那就是总统自由勋章，并且有国会议员提出来，如果 查理·科克的家人同意将查理·科克的遗体埋葬在美国国会山大厅下面的那个位置。那个位置一般都是美国非常有名的政治人物埋葬的地方，可以说这也算是一种礼遇吧。这种礼遇也算是一种备极哀荣的这样一种礼遇。查理·科克的死呢，可以说对于美国的保守派来讲是一个非常重的损失，对于美国年轻一代呢，也是一个非常大的损失。在下个星期啊，美国的犹他州将对查理·科克的枪手提起诉讼。在犹他州呢，有一种罪行叫做加重谋杀，这种罪行呢是可以判处死刑的。
When I got home last night, Gigi, our daughter, just ran into my arms. And I talked to her and she said, "Mommy, I missed you." I said, "I miss you too, baby." She goes, "Where's Daddy?" What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, "Baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget."
查理·科克的妻子今天晚些时候呢，发表了讲话，哭得很伤心。他说了一个事情，就是昨天晚上这个孩子问他这个爸爸去哪了，这个问题怎么回答呢？然后呢，他说查理·科克并没有真正的死去，查理·科克美国的转折点将成为美国有史以来最大的事情。他还感谢了川普总统，他说呢，查理爱川普总统，他们这个家呢也爱川普总统，当然了，川普总统呢也非常的爱查理，他们的友谊呢非常的棒。在纽约，就是美国大选川普总统最重要的一站，最后一站在麦德逊花园广场呢，人们也举行了一些守夜活动。在新西兰、在伦敦、在世界的一些地方，也出现了一些人为查理·科克烛光守夜的活动。